Hello, this is Nancy Heins-Glaser with another wonderful Meet the Artist program, our first show of 2012. And I'm happy to welcome back an alum, someone known to many of you in our audience, Patricia Brady Danzig. Musical and philanthropic activities are in this book. And here, Pat, we're here tonight to talk about your most recent endeavor. And I had you on a while back, and we talked about you getting ready to do it.
Right.
Well, now it's done. And tell us all about Fabrizio's Fable.
Thank you so much for having me on, Nancy. It's always a pleasure to visit with you. And Happy New Year to all of your viewers. We've been asked whether we should say 2012 or 2012. There's been a vote on that, and I vote for 2012. I think
I'll make sure I
much
correct
more
myself.
convenient.
Okay.
This book is called Fabrizio's Fable. I don't know if they can do a close-up. And the book is written in English and Italian. And many people ask me why. Well, one of the first reasons would be the fact that I am a singer and that from a very early age I have been studying and performing in Italian arias, opera, etc. And I'm really in love with the language. I feel it's the most beautiful language, and it certainly is what I call medicine for the voice. And I do practice Italian every single day when I vocalize. So the reason for it was that I decided that I wanted to bone up on my Italian grammar. And I live very close to Seton Hall University, I would say about 5 minutes drive. So I went over there a couple of years ago and signed up for a class as an auditor
In Italian.
among 19-year-olds. And I had a wonderful teacher, little Italian lady, and one of the assignments that we needed to do was to give a speech, a 2-minute speech in Italian from memory. And I said, you know, I can't do what these kids are doing and talk about going to the shore with my sister and taking my mother out to dinner. I said, I'm beyond that stage. So I said, I think I'll write a little story. So I sat down one night and I started writing, and out came Fabrizio. Do not ask me where it came from. I have never written a book in my life. Nothing. So it came the day of giving the speech. I gave the speech, and the teacher came up to me after. Her name is Susanna. She said, Signora, I love your story. You must write the book. So I said, I'm going to write the book.
And so you did.
So that's how
and
it
with
started.
music as well, right?
Yes.
With your lovely
Yes.
little
And so
CD.
one of the groups that I'm in is consisting of women business owners. It's called Nijobo, in case anybody is interested.
New Jersey Association of Women Business
yes.
Owners,
And
right?
to me, it's one of my favorite groups. Everybody in it is a go-getter. And the woman that I hired to publish the book is a member of Nijobo. And she owns Woodpecker Press, which is in Cedar Grove. And she did a beautiful job. The PR lady is a member of the group. The woman who does the printing is a member of the group.
It's a nice unit of
Yes.
well-balanced professional women.
That's
I
right.
do know that's true.
And all helpful to each other. So it was a labor of love and a labor of friendship. So the next thing I thought, you know, I really need to have something to go with the book as far as music. So then I decided to write a song about Fabrizio. It would become his theme song. And I dreamed about having the song sung by a children's choir of unchanged voices. And if you've heard any of them, you know what I'm talking about. It is the most beautiful sound in the world. Unchanged children's voices, especially those who are well taught. So I did find a wonderful children's choir in Cranford, New Jersey, about a year and a half ago and went out there and taught them the song. They have a wonderful young director. And I brought my video guy out there, and we recorded it, made copies of it, had the book printed, put it together, and now we have Fabrizio's Fable with the Fabrizio song in the pocket, in the back. And the other thing that I do on the CD is I read the story in English and Italian, and anybody who wants to study Italian or learn it better, they can play the CD and follow in the book, because every page in the book is in both languages.
And I understand when you're learning a foreign language, music is one easy way to
Absolutely,
learn
it
a
really
language.
is.
So
That's
that's a
how-
good learning technique as well.
That's
Pat.
right. That's how I learned Italian, was singing it. And what has happened, in addition to being used by hundreds and hundreds of children now, many, many libraries and schools have the book. It is being used in 2 universities as a teaching tool. So all of this happened because of that class. And there are a lot of other things that have sprung up out of it, too.
And you have a tote bag, and
Yeah.
so now I suspect we'll have an animated film at some point, right? Are you ready for that? Has Hollywood called you yet?
Yeah.
Well, you never know.
I'm waiting
Hey,
for-
maybe after this program.
I'm waiting for Disney to call me because it's a fabulous idea. And this is a tote that we have to go with the book.
And that's Fabrizio,
And
in
that's
case anyone wants to
Fabrizio
know.
in silk screening, and that's our website, which I will say, it's PBD Music, my initials, pbdmusic.com/Fabrizio.html. I'll say it again, pbdmusic.com/Fabrizio.html. If anybody's interested in ordering the book, just go on that website, and you can do it on PayPal.
Now, I want to start a little bit and go backwards a little, because this is your new venture, and I've known you and had you here in the studio a number of times with each sort of revolution, going off to another country, your music foundation largely, some of your Irish concerts, fundraising concerts. You really do use music philanthropically. How did you start your foundation? What did you say? Is it almost 32 years ago now?
It's about 20 years.
Oh, well, 20 or 30? Because 80? 1980.
No, it's 20. The foundation is 20 years.
Okay.
The touring is 30 years.
Okay.
But the foundation started because when I first started going to Romania, which was the first foreign country that I went to sing, it was under communism, and a lot of young musicians would come and say to me, please help us come to the United States.
They know that this is the place to be seen and heard, and the freedom to express themselves, correct?
That's right, and they could not get out of Romania at the time. They were forbidden to leave their country. So I was inspired. I thought they were so talented and that they really needed an opportunity. So I did invite a person over, a wonderful singer, which came in the early 80s, I would say. And what happened was that I got the visa for the person, I got the hall, I got the audience, I got the housing, I got the meals. Because when you are asking a country to allow a person to come, you've got to have lots of background information. And
Yeah,
lots
communist country in particular, right?
Absolutely.
They certainly aren't that trusting
Absolutely. And
outside of the bloc.
One time I tried to get a husband and wife combination, and they were at the airport, and they made the wife stay home. So the husband had to come by himself. It was really, really startling what went on in those countries at that time. So that went on where we would support these people coming over for several years. And a very good friend of mine, after a while, said, you know, you really should start a nonprofit organization, because then you can get funding. So that's when the foundation started after a few years. And the foundation is now about 20 years old.
Okay.
And we have helped over 300 young musical artists, and
That's a significant number. That's not a small number.
No, it's not a small
Are they all
number.
singers, primarily
No,
singers?
all
or-
different kinds of musicians. But the point is that we have given away over $250,000 in those years. And the other point is that we would be called a very small foundation. But I am so involved in helping young artists because not only is it a tough field, but anybody who reads the papers know that whenever there's cuts, what's cut? Arts and music.
Exactly.
So I feel in my small way I'm helping in some measure to give people an opportunity to get started. And we have helped some people who have made it or are on the way to making it very big.
Right now, you have somebody who's about to go audition for the Mets?
Yes, we
Is that
have one
correct?
of our tenors who I met about 6 or 7 years ago in Iowa. A young lad came over with a group from Romania and was given a scholarship to the college there, came to me and sang for me. So right away I said, okay, we have to help this young man. So he got into Indiana University and took a master's program there in opera. And then he auditioned in several European countries, and he was accepted into the Vienna Opera, which is comparable to the Met. And he did a novice program there for a full year. And now he's singing all over the world. And in March, he's coming back here to the States, and he's going to audition at the Met. So cross our fingers. And
That's
you've heard
exciting.
him.
Yeah.
You've heard
and
him.
what is his name?
His name is Florin Ormenishan.
I did hear him. He's magnificent.
He
so,
has a fabulous voice.
we're going to go out for a break in just a little
Okay.
bit, but I want you to, when we come back from break, recite all the countries you've
Okay,
been in.
I'm going to have to look.
I know. I'll let you cheat while we're on break,
Okay.
but and just kind of share I'm considering you now as I'm looking at you the sort of the Johnny Appleseed of opera
Yeah.
and classical
Yes,
music
yes.
for a better world.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
anyway, so hang in there with us, and you stay tuned because we're going to come back and talk more about Fabrizio's Fable. We're going to even hear a little music, I think, on our
Wonderful.
way out to break from your CD, this beloved CD, which I love so much. And then we're going to hear all about some of the many wonderful musicians
And
you've
some of
helped.
my new activities.
And what's next, of course. So don't turn that dial, stay tuned, and we'll
Okay.
see you in just a minute.
After 17 years working as a mason, Mike was laid off. I met him when he came into the library looking for help. He found a job opening, but the application was only online. Mike said he'd spent his entire life around tools, but had never used a computer. I showed him how, and he ended up applying for numerous jobs online. I saw Mike the other day. His new computer skills paid off. He's working again.
New Jersey libraries are transforming lives. Tell us your story.
And welcome back. This is Nancy Heins-Glaser for Meet the Artist and Pat Brady Danzig, philanthropist, musician, opera singer, book author, all-around great gal, in particular in the music arena. And before we went to break, I wanted you to come up with a list of few countries that you've traveled. There have been many.
Yes, they
And
have
where you've
been.
brought musicians back. Give us a few. Name a few.
Well, before I do, I just want to offer one of my dream wishes, and that would be to perform in Asia. I have not done that yet, but I have performed all over Europe.
So you're
and
putting it
East
out
Europe.
there to the universe.
Asia.
Okay.
This
so,
is Hungary, Finland, Sicily, Vienna, Ireland, the land of my parents, New York City, Carnegie Hall, and my Ireland on Parade show, Chicago, Brockton, Massachusetts, Bloomfield, New Jersey last year, all over the place.
You were in Ridgewood also,
Yeah,
you know, and
we were
I
there.
attended that
Yes.
conference with the Pell Trio,
Yes,
and
that's correct.
and one of
Yes.
your performers with the Pell Trio was in Morristown First Night. I think
That's
it's what you.
right.
How am I doing? Am I doing?
How did you find that out?
I don't know. I think you're right. And then also you have worked with Schola Cantorum, which is pretty well known.
Yes, we used them last year at our Ireland on Parade in well, it wasn't Ireland, it was a different program we did with them, but it was in the Grace Church in Nutley. And they're a wonderful group. We've worked with quite a few choruses and groups of Irish step dancers. But I did want to point out that I will be sending you a few pictures. This one is from a very small town in Romania called Râmnică Vâlcea. And here I'm sitting with a young, talented conductor, and we did a beautiful show there. Beautiful.
And that was where?
That was in Râmnică Vâlcea in Romania.
Romania.
This one here is in Bucharest with a chamber orchestra. This is the cover of my Romanian CD, From Romania with Love. It was a gift I gave to them. And then this is another picture in another city in Romania called Sibiu. And this is in Galați, Romania, which is on the Danube, one of the most beautiful cities that I've sung in. And this one is in Hamburg, Germany. And I fell in love with Hamburg. It's a beautiful city.
And cultural.
Beautiful.
I heard it's pretty much a cultural
Very,
mecca now.
yes, and they have their own opera company, and I had the privilege of attending their performances. This is a big festival that they hold in Romania called the UNESCO Festival, named after their famous composer. And here I am with Kurt Mazur, who was one of the conductors there. And Kurt is a lovely man and was the conductor of the New York Philharmonic
Really?
for many years.
Okay.
So he was.
You have
at-
one more for us?
And
Do you have
here
one
I
of
am-
Louise? Or who this
Here
is?
I am with the Romanian ambassador to the United States, Adrian Varița. Oh, and I have hundreds more.
And so what we'll try to do is insert some of these images, so there's a little bit of a travelogue to go along.
I was also in France, Italy, Spain, Scotland, and on this side, Canada, Mexico, and all over the United States. So,
Performing and welcoming other
teaching,
musicians.
master classes, etc.
Yeah.
Do we have time for me to tell you about our Pell Trio?
We'll go right ahead. We have,
Yes.
certainly we have a couple of minutes. I mentioned it, I brought it up, so why not? Go ahead.
Thank you. And you know my friend Liz, who is our cellist and is a wonderful musician. And Nancy, I can't think of her last name. Nancy is our violinist, and I'm the pianist. And the way that this came up was that my associate, Alice Gibson, said to me one day, she said, you know, you majored in piano. She said, you have been spending so much time singing. You should get back to your piano. So then I started back practicing, I would say about 3 years ago, and fell in love with the piano all over again. And I said, you know what I think I'll do? I can be a little bit lazy if I work with a trio, because then I don't have to do all the solo work. So I found Nancy and Liz, and we started working together. And here again, Njobo had us come and play for a couple of their events, and that was a start for us. We got wonderful feedback, and we have performed in several areas, and I'm very happy to say that we have our first subscription performance this year, October 14th at 3 p.m. in Summit at the Episcopal Church. So I'm absolutely thrilled with that, because to be part of a series means that you have your built-in audience and that you've climbed another step on the ladder professionally. So I'm thrilled.
And also what you mentioned to me in the past is performing in a lot of these churches is outstanding. The church I think you mentioned in Nutley was all wood, so the sound really resonates differently than it does even in some of the larger immense
Yes,
halls. But
I agree with that.
so it's a wonderful feeling for you as a musician to hear it.
Yes.
It's almost immediate feedback to
Yes, the
your ear.
acoustics are wonderful, and I love the Grace Church in Nutley. We've done 2 or 3 programs there, and I like the church itself. I like the people we deal with there, and most of all, the fact that it's all wood. The acoustics are fabulous. You can go through a complete concert, and your voice is not tired, because the facility and the acoustics help you. So So that I enjoy that very, very much.
Now, you've picked up a following all along the way. As I mentioned to you, I was going to call you the Johnny Appleseed of classical music and opera, but I'm wondering how the people who you bring here and support and help coming to this country, I'm sure they must revere you highly. They probably go to bed every night and say prayers and thanks for Pat Brady Danzig. Am I right? I mean, you've given them an opportunity,
I hope
a way
so.
to express themselves elsewhere.
But with everything, when you help somebody, they also help you in return. So whatever I'm doing for them, I'm feeling rewarded by their success. And as I mentioned earlier in our conversation, it's a very, very hard career. Music is a very hard career. And in fact, a lot of parents will say to kids, okay, take something in college where you can earn a living and then do your music. And if we think about it, a very, very small percentage of people in music actually become stars. So what does that do with the other 97%, and how to be successful in other ways in music and not say, oh, well, I'm going to be in that 3%, because that may or may not happen. That's a very small percentage.
You found another way, though, as you said, you've rediscovered the piano all over again, and so you've sort of not come full circle. That's not really the word. You've just re-explored and re-brought it back into you. So there's many facets of music. I think teaching is actually a wonderfully rewarding way to use music as well. I've heard, anyway.
Yeah, that's why I like doing master classes. I just did one on November 10th, the day before my birthday party. I did a full day at Raritan Valley College, and I did a recital, and then I did a master class with young singers, and then I did a lecture on the business of music, which I think is a very important topic, because one must earn a living at some point in life. And one cannot just say, well, I'm an artist, I'm talented, I'm going to get ahead. No, it doesn't work with that way. You've got to think of it as a business. You've got to think of some way of earning money in music, and that you can use your skills and be happy in what you're doing. So that's the gist of that talk. I also describe how to produce your own CDs and market them. I do a lot of that.
You certainly have. How many CDs do you have already
I have
at this point?
6, and I'm doing another one this year, a religious CD called Believe.
Now, the other thing, when we first started talking about Fabrizio's Fable and how that all came to be while you were taking a class, so you could really understand what you were actually singing more in opera, and then thus became, you better write a story, and so you did, and then there's a CD with it. You mentioned the importance of happy accidents in your pursuit of both your foundation and your music career. How important do you think it is to keep yourself open, so when something's there, you seize it?
That's a very good question. The challenge is to be prepared with what life presents you with, and I felt that going back to the piano and starting my practice again, I'm one of those people who always loved to practice. It was not a chore for me as a child.
Oh my goodness, every teacher loved you to bits.
My teacher loved me.
Yes, yes.
All my teachers loved me. So I happened to be a kid that enjoyed doing that and could sit for hours and played in lots and lots of concerts. So it was nice bringing that back. And then being able to work with other professionals in this trio and learning a whole new repertoire, which is kind of exciting too, because chamber music repertoire is a repertoire unto itself, and I'm enjoying that very much. So really, it's a whole new thing for me. And the other thing that I wanted to point out, several things, I could talk all night.
I know, we do well together.
Was the fact that one of the things I did in the last year and a half was join Toastmasters.
And that's a speaker's forum. It's
That's
to
a
get
speaker's
comfortable
forum. It's
and-
all it's all volunteer, and you learn to speak on your feet about any topic with very little preparation. So that I liked very much. I am now going into paid speeches. I've just started preparing for that. I feel that I have a lot to offer that way. I also still do the master classes. And another thing that I've just joined in the last couple of weeks is the National Speakers Association. They have a very good group in New Jersey, and one of my friends is on the board of the group in New York, and she has invited me to go to that. So that is another way of making contacts whereby you can get hired by companies to speak on your topics.
And to fulfill
it's like
your
teaching.
Yes,
I
and-
find it like teaching.
Well, you know, we have about a minute left, which is really shocking to me. But
I know, I
what
could
we
go
need
on.
is we need you to write a book now called The Roadmap to Music Success and Books by Pat Brady Danzig. We want to thank you. I think
Thank
we were
you.
talking, this might be your fourth time, but I've
I
known
think
you since
so.
about 2000, so
think
it's
so.
okay.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you taking the time sharing this with our audience, with the kids out there in viewing land who can get Fabrizio, learn Italian, learn the other languages associated. We want to thank you for keeping
Thank
your
you.
musical gifts going here and throughout the world.
Can I just say something in Italian? Con I miei migliori saluti, with my best wishes.
Thank you so
Grazie
much.
molto.
Grazie. Thank you.
you.
And Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year to you, and thank you for joining us on Meet the Artists. Good day.